All right, GTL's back. I'm done my tour guide duties and I'm ready to get started again. It was nice to see my friends here and they're off to their next destination, but I do kind of feel like I'm behind on things. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about two articles. The first one's titled, How to Bring More Canadian Tourists and More Jobs to Maine. And this is an opinion piece. And in my opinion, this guy's an idiot. So I'll explain later in this video. I also have another article titled California Wineries Slash Jobs as Oversupply and Imports Trigger Industry Crisis. Well, I guess that's the result when you piss off your next door neighbor. So we'll talk about these two articles in this video. I also have another video from a Canadian TikTok creator. This is a few weeks old. He brings up a good point. Like when the Orange Dictator is done in the Middle East, what's the next area that's going to be on his crosshairs? So we'll listen to his rant in this video. He says it way better than I ever could. The backdrop for today's video comes from Tranos on our Discord server. And this photo was taken from Mount Saint Hilaire in Quebec. Someone please tell me if I said it right or not. If not, let me know what the right pronunciation is. Appreciate you posting this in our Discord server. And one more thing before I start. Just a reminder for anyone that's looking for a social media platform that is built in Canada and only has servers in Canada and Europe, then Hey Cafe is probably the one that you're going to want to check out. There are a lot of different communities in the social media platform, not just political, but like anything from photography to gaming to city cafes or even provincial cafes, or even posting up your pet pictures. I've even posted up the co-host photos a few times in different communities. And to be fair, her photos get more reactions than my videos. So if you want to check out the social media platform, it doesn't have any advertisements, none of that corporate bullshit, just a social media platform. I'll leave a link in the description below. And it's free and it's available to anyone around the world as well. Okay, before we get started, I want to give you a bit of an update from Brian Henderson. And it looks like these roadblocks that are happening just before the Peace Arch or just before you get to the Canadian side are starting to happen a lot more now. Let's take a look.
And you can see traffic leaving the United States, and they are approaching an exit checkpoint. You can see the Customs and Border Protection officer there putting his arm out saying, hey, we're going to stop you here, ask a few questions as you leave. They've got all three lanes down to one lane as you exit the United States. Now that traffic behind them, you can see, is coming into the United States. Now these are superficial screenings, it looks like, just a, hey, have a good day. And when they do it this way, they stop random cars and subject them to different screenings. And you can see they've got multiple vehicles there. That means they've got a canine unit there. That means every now and again they'll stop a vehicle and the canine will do a little inspection around the vehicle. But this is Sunday, March 7th. You can see exit checkpoints. They are at the Peace Arch point of entry. They are also here at the truck entry in Blaine, Washington as well.
So they used to do these under previous administrations once or twice a year. It is only under the Trump administration that they have started doing these.
Okay, so his video cuts off here. But it is increasing because I think this is probably like the third or fourth or maybe even fifth video I've seen in the last couple weeks. But in all the times I've crossed into the United States, through either the Peace Arch or the truck crossing, I don't recall ever going through one of these roadblocks before. Now, I'm not saying that it never happened in the past. They probably did. But what I'm saying is that the frequency of it is almost like a weekly basis now, or even more. But you saw in the video, they were letting cars go through. They weren't even stopping them. But what's the criteria for them actually stopping you? Is it going to be that you have a BC plate or you have a Washington plate? Or is it because of your skin color? It's definitely going to be some sort of profiling one way or another. Now, Brian has one more video that I want to show. Let me play it.
They are doing multiple exit checkpoints today, not only at this exit checkpoint, they were also doing one over at the truck crossing. This is the Peace Arch point of entry. This is the overpass where I-5 ends here. That's the U.S. Customs Protection going through their vehicle. This is right on the American-Canadian border with Surrey, British Columbia. Now this officer is see the wind is whipping that flag right there. My hat's about to blow away. You can tell he pops that hood on the Tesla quite a bit. This is actually quite common for Tesla drivers. They don't know how to pop hoods. That's not something they usually do. That's something a service technician does for them. I've honestly seen this two-step before. They can't figure out how to pop the hood on the Teslas.
Uh, there it goes.
Now, I don't know why, but I found this pretty funny. Maybe because I hate Teslas. But I mean, if you're going to buy one, at least learn how to pop the hood. Because you don't want to put yourself in a situation where the officer might think you're concealing something. Anyways, for those in British Columbia, just be mindful that this is happening more frequently now on the other side. My best opinion for you? Don't become one of their quota people. Okay, let's move on to the article out of Maine. It's an opinion piece. It's titled, How to Bring More Canadian Tourists and More Jobs to Maine. It starts off by saying Peter Guidi owns the Seagrass Inn in Old Orchard Beach. He says in 2024, roughly 800,000 Canadians visited our state and spent close to $500 million in our communities. They filled our hotels and motels, eat in our restaurants, shop at our stores, buy gas, attend attractions, and support tens of thousands of seasonal jobs. But Maine is quietly becoming too expensive and too politically complicated for many of the Canadian visitors that Maine depended on the most. Now, to the Canadians watching my video right now that used to visit Maine, is Maine becoming too expensive for you? Because the owner of Seagrass Inn in Old Orchard Beach is basically saying that you guys are too poor to come down. I don't know, if this was a business in Washington State or Bellingham or something, I'd be pretty pissed off. He then goes on to say the Canadian dollar is now about 30% weaker than the US dollar. That means that Maine vacation already costs Canadian families roughly 30% more than their own currency. Okay, Peter, let's look at the currency exchange rate on the date that this article was published. You can see here on March 2nd, 2026, one Canadian dollar was 0.73325. Exactly 2 years ago, March 2nd, 2024, before the orange idiot was in office, one Canadian dollar is 0.173708. So you're telling me, Peter, that before 2024, when the exchange rate was exactly the same, and when Canadians were still coming to your stupid hotel, but now we're not, and now you're saying it's the exchange rate that's a problem. Peter then goes on to say the recent federal trade actions and tariff disputes have angered many Canadians and hardened public attitudes towards the United States. Man, you're missing the biggest point. He says whether or not the Mainers agreed to those policies is besides the point. No, I think it is actually a big point. Because if the people of Maine actually gave a shit and understood why Canadians are actually pissed off, I might have a little bit of sympathy for you guys. He then says what matters is that the tourism is emotional as well as economic. So what he's trying to say is that he doesn't care about us, he just cares about the money. Now he's going to offer a suggestion to the state of Maine. He says here, Maine now has a rare opportunity to send a clear and constructive message. Federal politics is not Maine's values, and Maine still wants Canadians' money. I mean visitors. That is why Maine should adopt a 1-year suspension of the 9% lodging tax for Canadian visitors during the summer of 2026. Then he goes on to say it's not a permanent tax, yada yada, exchange rate, yada yada. He then goes on to say removing the lodge tax would reduce the tax-inclusive room price by about 8.3%. That price cut would immediately be visible on booking platforms and invoices. It would also give Maine a powerful and simple international marketing message. Canadians stay tax-free in Maine, summer 2026. So let me ask the Canadians from Quebec as well as New Brunswick and anywhere else that used to visit Maine. Will this tax rate of 8.3% be enough for you to go back to the United States and visit Maine? Because Peter, the owner of Seagrass Inn in Old Orchard Beach, seems to think it is, that giving you an 8.3% in tax reductions will be enough to get you back. Just ignore the 51st state, just ignore ICE, CBP, all that other bullshit. But the 8.3%, that's the kicker that will bring us back. Apparently. Peter then goes on to say, as a Maine business owner who depends on seasonal tourism and cross-border travel, I have seen firsthand how sensitive bookings are to price changes and sentiment shifts. Well, at least he got the sentiment shifts part right. When the exchange rate moves or political tensions flare, cancellations rise and shoulder season occupancy drops. This affects payroll, hiring, and whether small businesses can make it through the winter. Oh no. Anyways, tourism demand is price sensitive, especially across the border leisure travel. Canadians deciding between Maine, Quebec, New Brunswick, or Nova Scotia are not making abstract economic comparisons. They are comparing final all-in prices. Well, I suspect that we're not even comparing your prices at all. Canadians are probably comparing prices within Canada, Europe, or anywhere else in the world. Now, I'm going to skim through his article because he just talks about how this is going to be great for Maine. But he says here, this policy would increase occupancy during shoulder periods, early June and late September and October, when Maine has excess lodging capacity. That means much of the new activity would be truly incremental, not merely shifted from one week to another. The administrative side is also straightforward. Eligibility can be verified using a Canadian passport or a bill. or a Canadian billing address. The tax can be removed at the booking or checkout. The program can run from June 1st to October 30th, 2026, and automatically sunset after 1 year. I really love how he has this all planned out, like it's going to be like a miraculous fix for the state of Maine. I mean, he sounds so confident in it. But one thing that's not going to make this work is that he's not listening to the people that he's targeting, which is us. Maine's tourism economy is facing new structural headwinds. Exchange rates are not in our control. Fuck the exchange rates. Federal trade policy is not under our control, but our tax policy is. A 1-year suspension of the lodging tax for Canadian visitors is a simple, responsible way to keep Maine competitive, protect seasonal jobs, and show our closest international neighbors that Maine is still open, friendly, and grateful for their business. So what's my opinion on this article? Well, I hope Peter at the Seagrass Inn learns that it's not going to be as easy as he thinks it is. And I speak for myself when I say this. It's not about the exchange rate, and it's not about your stupid tax. It's about the blatant overlooking of the 51st state annexation threats that your government and even some of your citizens are touting. But on top of that, it's the fact that you think that we can be bribed. This is not about deals anymore. It's about our own principles in Canada. But every time I see stuff like this, it actually pushes me farther and farther away from wanting to do anything with the United States anymore. So what you might think you're doing, Peter, is luring us back. It's actually pushing us even farther away. Let me know in the comments if you agree with me on this one. And I'm actually curious if anyone has actually stated this in before. Now, I do have one more article, but I don't have much time to talk about it because I spent too much time venting about Peter. But I do want to remind everybody that with the alcohol off the shelves, it's still making a big impact, even though it's not being talked about in the media anymore. This article is titled, California Wineries Slash Jobs as Oversupply and Imports Trigger Industry Crisis. Layoffs and closures accelerate statewide as weak demand, tariffs, and Canadian boycotts drive wine exports down 35%. Now, I'm not going to talk about this article too much, but if you want to read the full thing, as always, the link is in the description below. But I do want to show you this paragraph that was in the article. It states, international trade tensions have further complicated matters. Since last year, Canadian provinces have boycotted American wines in response to tariffs imposed by former President Orange Guy on Canadian goods. Why does it say former? Is he dead? I mean, the article was created on 2026-03-04. I mean, it's not like it's an old article. Anyways, according to a recent report from the Wine Institute, a trade group representing California wineries, U.S. wine export fell $805 million in 2025, down 35% from 2024. The Canadian boycott alone has erased about $360 million in revenue that would have otherwise gone to American producers. The Wine Institute has urged Canadian officials to end the boycotts, arguing that they have forced U.S. companies to lay off Canadian employees and cost both countries millions in tax revenue. Steve Gross, CEO of the Wine Institute, called for urgent action before more businesses are permanently harmed. Well, Steve, to answer your question about ending the boycott, no, we're not going to. And even if our government puts your alcohol back on the shelves, I'm pretty sure many Canadians are still not going to be buying it. But I like how he's kind of gaslighting us, saying that, we're causing Canadian jobs to be lost. To me, this sounds like another case of blaming Canada for the boycott when they're ignoring the fact on why we're actually boycotting, which is the orange guy. Go get mad at him, not us. He's the one that's screwing up your industry, not us. But not only that, he's also screwing up other industries as well where Canadians have lost their jobs. So yours is not unique. Personally, I don't care anymore if this is California. I know California is a blue state, but to me, it doesn't matter if it's blue or red anymore. These business owners in each one of the states are still trying to gaslight us. So Steve Gross, CEO of the Wine Institute, I don't care about your wine. I have to care about my own country first. Now, I want to close off this video from a Canadian TikTok creator who brought up a good point. I know all the attention is in the Middle East right now, but we obviously know that the orange guy has a short attention span and he wants power. But this guy brought up a good point. Who's going to be next? I'm going to play the video right through.
This is a question for Canadians. Does Trump's attack on Iran make you more worried that he's going to attack Canada? It does for me. It did after Venezuela, and it will after his next country, probably Cuba, because he's going to bail on Iran. He's already bailing. Like the same day as the attack, he's doing interviews who was like, I got to get out of here. I got to bounce. Hey, Iranians, there you go. Good luck. Have fun. The problem is he's not going to be held accountable for this. He's going to leave after murdering all of these Iranians, including the guy at the top, the Ayatollah, and just move on. And Americans who could stop him, the Congress, are just going to say, no, that was the best thing that we could have done. And that freaks me the fuck out because What is stopping him from just doing that to Canada? Because he's demented. There's nothing left up there. Whenever he's allowed to do, he is a toddler. Whenever he's allowed to do something, it just gives him permission to do it again. They should have done something after Venezuela. If they had, he wouldn't have attacked Iran.
Okay, I know I said I was going to play right through, but I need to comment on this. I think this was the biggest mistake for the United States, doing absolutely nothing after Venezuela. Because what the orange guy realized is that he can push a little bit farther and nobody will stop him. But even now in the Middle East, what is Congress actually doing? What are the Democrats doing? What are the Republicans doing? Nothing. And unfortunately, this time, there are US soldiers, bodies, coming home. And the orange guy and the administration have absolutely no care in the world for them.
Now they're not going to do anything about Iran, and he's going to go after Cuba and Colombia and then Canada. This has me really freaked out because nobody is holding this guy accountable. Like, Canada's one of the only countries that's like pushing back on him. And yeah, that's great. That's what we should fucking do. We don't fuck around up here. But if other people aren't like, hey, kid, you can't do that. You can't go and just slap people on the playground. Like, Americans just coddle him to the point where he just keeps doing all this bullshit. If he does attack Canada, it's not going to be like Iran. I'll tell you that. There will be a counterinsurgency very quickly. But he doesn't think about those things. How likely is Iran to attack the homeland of the United States? Less likely than if he attacks Canada. But he doesn't give a shit. That's the problem here. He's just doing whatever he wants, and the people who could stop him, American lawmakers, are just fucking sitting around and be like, I hope he doesn't mention me. So, Canadians, are you more worried today than you were, say, 2 days ago that Donald Trump is going to attack Canada? Also, we're leading into the warmer months. He's not going to do it in the winter because Americans are wusses. They couldn't handle the cold up here. But in June, it's a totally different story. So, what do you think? Are you more worried? I'm more worried. Of course I am. Fuck Trump. Let me know your thoughts.
My thoughts on this? Yeah, I am kind of worried. I think when I first started this channel and, things were starting to escalate, I always thought the United States would, if they were going to attack Canada, I think enough citizens would step in and say, yeah, we got to stop this. I mean, that's what friends do for each other, right? But as the months went by, I started to lose more and more faith that the United States would do the right thing. If the orange guy decided to attack Canada, I mean, they can't even do the right thing for their own country. When it comes to us, is Congress going to tell the current US administration to stop attacking Canada? Are we going to get more letters from Chuck Schumer saying, don't attack Canada? Sign Chuck Schumer. But I think it is something we need to start thinking about, at least have it in our mind. What is going to happen if the orange guy's attention looks north? Because one thing I do know is that we cannot rely on the United States government to put a stop to this. Okay, that's all I got for this video. It went a little bit longer than I wanted to, mainly because of that Peter guy. I don't like him. But I should be able to get another video out after this. There's a few more things I want to talk about. If you found any value or agree with anything I said, or you want to hear more from a Canadian perspective and international perspective as well, without the US media bullshit, hit that like and subscribe button below so that way you're notified of my future videos. Thanks everyone. I'll catch you in the next one.